I like to steal all my best material, and I really like this book, Brain Over Binge, Recover Guide. And we've used some of this in our program, so I really want to give credit to Catherine Hansen, who rejects traditional therapy as a way of recovering. But actually a lot of what she's talking about is brain science, Catherine, and you've helped a lot of people. And some of the questions you have in these books, I wanted to go through. You're mainly, in this book, she's mainly talking about bulimia nervosa and also relating to binge eating as well. But I'd like you to think also about anorexia nervosa, because some of this can relate to that as well, if that's your eating disorder. So one of the questions she asked is, what does restriction or binge urges feel like to you? What do they feel like? And notice that you're going to have physiological responses to that. It might be how your jaw feels, your stomach feels, tension in your body. So start to notice what are some of the physical symptoms that you have when you're getting ready to binge, restrict, or purge. What do those feel like to you? And then you have physical symptoms that your eating disorders or the urges create. So for example, back in the day when I used to have a huge craving for chocolate, I would notice I'd actually salivate at a time I was supposed to be eating chocolate, in a sense, which was usually at night. I would just feel like that urge wasn't going to go away, that desire to eat chocolate wasn't going to go away until I did. And guess what? It didn't, because the urge doesn't get satisfied until the only thing you get rid of when you respond to an urge is the urge itself. So instead, I noticed when I was able to surf the urge, go get a cup of ginger tea instead and just go distract myself, that the urge went away. And it felt great to finally not feel controlled by food, specifically chocolate. Not that chocolate is bad, I encourage chocolate eating, chocolate's wonderful. It's just the idea of being controlled by something is what we're talking about. And then ask yourself, when do your urges arise? Do they arise in the evening? Do they arise after you have an argument? Are there any patterns? And you can even start in your journal, start noticing when your urges arise. Maybe make a little column sheet and just notice every time, so you can begin to get an understanding about them. You know, when I've had friends early on in alcohol recovery, one of the things I don't do is I don't drink around them. They're probably fine with that, but I don't want to elicit any urge that they might have. And one thing I noticed with a particular person who was early in recovery, we had gone to Cost Plus, and we were looking for Christmas items. And I was noticing all the chocolates, having been recovered from chocolate, like abuse, if you would. And he was noticing all the alcohol. And he said to me, there's so much alcohol in here. And he was only a few weeks sober. I had no idea there was so much alcohol. And so he was obviously being triggered by all the packaging of alcohol. So just kind of notice, you know, are there places that maybe it's good for you to stay away from, things that are good for you to stay away from right now as you're trying to, you know, not get overwhelmed by your urges. And then how do the urges have a voice that encourages you to binge, to restrict? And when does that surface? What does it sound like? And what does that voice tell you to do? Oftentimes that voice is quite abusive. You'll notice that. It says really quite cruel things to you. Ask yourself when you hear that voice, would I say that to my mother? Would I say that to my friend? Is that how I would talk to somebody else? So then when you hear that voice and try to step outside of yourself and hear that critical voice and the way it's talking to you, decide if you're going to talk to somebody and respond to something that is so abusive, or if you're going to go do something different. So when that voice tells you, you know, you're so fat, you're so awful, look, you can pinch skin right here, you shouldn't eat, and yet everyone around you is telling you that you're starving, you know, maybe you don't want to listen to that voice. Begin to notice how abusive that voice is. Instead, go talk to the voices of people who are more loving and supportive. And then, what are the logical reasons that your voice tries to get you to binge or restrict or purge? And list as many of those reasons as you can. So what are the logical reasons to binge? The logical reasons to purge, well, people tell me logical reason to purge is to get the calories out. But what else? What are you giving up when you purge? You're losing electrolytes, you're risking death because you've done this so often, you're ruining your teeth. Just take a moment. I know it's hard to be in your prefrontal cortex, your executive functioning, when you're in that crazy binge purge stage. But see if you can just take a moment to just stop, step outside, and or have something that you read that you've written down, or something. I've had another patient do this brilliant thing. She recorded herself on her cell phone, talking to herself, and something she could say to herself in the middle of a binge purge episode. And she would literally talk herself down by just hitting the play button when she would see that. And her voice herself would talk herself down. It was absolutely brilliant. A brilliant girl who was home from college and out of college because of her eating disorder. Whatever you come up with, whatever works, see what you can do to come up with rational reasons not to binge, purge, restrict before the urge happens. Whatever that is for you. What does the voice of the urge promise you? Does it promise you you're going to have lots of friends? Does it promise you that, your husband's going to love you more? Does it promise that tomorrow will be better? Notice what the urge is promising you and the reward and payoff. And maybe you want to record this on your phone too. What's the truth? What is the urge really going to do to you? If you act on the urge, what's really the payoff? The payoff might be, ultimately losing the functioning of your intestinal tract because of misuse of abuse of laxatives. The shame you would feel if somebody found out what you were doing. So really think about what the truth is the urge is promising you. Take a look at that. Anything else? I want you to write down anything else you notice about your urges. Just anything else you can come up with. So I hope this exercise, of writing exercise, will be useful for you. Keep it in your journal or on your phone, whatever is convenient for you, and look at it. And I love the idea of taking some time to voice record yourself or video record yourself, talking yourself down. Or maybe if you don't feel that you would like to, can do that for yourself, get somebody you love to videotape you. Like most people have someone in their life who, when they're struggling with an eating disorder, there's one person they can call. So I'm sure that person who loves and cares about you, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother or your friend, your spouse, would be happy to just have you to record on their phones things that they would like to say to you during your kind of craziness with this eating disorder. So reach out, get help from other people. We're always here. You can always call our office and even just leave a message on our voicemail if you just need to just reach out if you're feeling really alone and isolated, or talk to other people. And remember, Eating Disorders Anonymous, I strongly encourage that. It's a place to find fellowship with other people who are struggling with eating disorders. So take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.